As you can see, dessert is on the table, and like the rest of the evening, it's somewhat interactive. So, meet new people at your table while you're passing the fixins of the chocolate waffles. So, okay, first of all, I'd like to start by recognizing our sustaining sponsors. We have a great list of sponsors who really enable us to do the things that we do throughout the year. Please hold your applause until I get through all of the names. These are our sustaining sponsors. For Centennial, we have Auto Express of Hamilton, Barclays, Business Breakthrough Advisors, Butler Tech, City of Hamilton, First Financial Bank, Kettering Health Hamilton, Mercy Health Fairfield Hospital, and U.S. Bank. Hold on, we're not done. We have a long ways to go. Our platinum sponsors, we have Cox First Media, Fifth Third Bank, Molson Coors Beverage Company, and for gold, we have Ulta Fiber, Community Design Alliance, Durana Hybrid, ODW Logistics, Porter Advertising, Primary Health Solutions, ThyssenKrupp Bilstein of America, TV Hamilton, Wilkes Insurance Agency. And for silver, we have Brown Dawson Flick Funeral Homes, Hamilton Castor and Manufacturing, Milliken and Fitton Law Firm, SHP Leading Design, State Farm Insurance, Barney Riesbeck, and United Heartland Insurance. Now we can recognize everybody. I also want to recognize our elected officials in the office, in the audience tonight. So as I call your name, if you'd please stand, but again, hold your applause until the very end. State Representative Sarah Carruthers, Butler County Commissioner T.C. Rogers, Judge Marco Halcomb, Judge Jennifer McElfresh, Hamilton City Council members, we have Mayor Pat Moeller, Vice Mayor Michael Ryan, Susan Vaughn, Joe Lauer, Tim Knabb, and Eric Pullman, and Hamilton City School Board member, Pastor Shakayla Matthews. From Monroe Local School Board member, we have Brett Guido, and Northwest Local School District Board member, Jim Detzel. Thank you for joining us tonight. I want to thank our presenting sponsors. First is Mercy Health Fairfield Hospital, and I'd like to invite Justin Kruger to the podium. He's the president of Mercy Health Fairfield Hospital, and he has some brief remarks he'd like to share with you tonight.
Thank you, Dan. Good evening, everybody. My name is Justin Kruger. I'm the hospital president of Mercy Health Fairfield Hospital and Cincinnati's North Market president for Mercy Health Cincinnati. Mercy Health is pleased to serve as the presenting sponsor for this event and for the opportunity to celebrate the vibrant business community here in the city of Hamilton and the surrounding areas. It's also an opportunity to remind everyone just how blessed we all are to live and work in a community that is so rich in top-notch health care. Regardless of which health system you choose for your health care, we're fortunate to live in a community where the caliber of health care in our area is second to none. To reinforce that notion related to Mercy Health, recently Healthgrades, a national third-party organization that rates the quality of care that hospitals provide, again named Mercy Fairfield Hospital as one of America's top 50 hospitals in 2023, an honor it's received annually since 2020 and one we're very proud of. This legacy of quality health care for the residents of Butler County goes a long way back for Mercy Health. All the way back to 1892 and Mercy's very first hospital, which started right here in the city of Hamilton. Since that time, Mercy Health has continued to serve the region with our Fairfield Hospital and its associated clinics for nearly 45 years. In closing, I want to thank the Chamber and those in attendance tonight for the chance to shine a light not only on Mercy Health, but also on all of our area hospitals for their commitment to our well-being. The physicians, nurses, and clinical staff across every health system in our area deserve our gratitude for the great work that they do each and every day to keep us all safe and healthy. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening and the great event that the Hamilton Chamber has put on, and congratulations to our award winners. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. And our second presenting sponsor is Molson Coors Beverage Company. Molson Coors Beverage Company, Trenton Brewery, has now provided stable, continuous employment for its employees for 32 years. In addition to supporting their employees, they are dedicated to being a positive contributor to the communities that encircle them, while ensuring they produce the highest quality products in a safe environment for enjoyment by all consumers. They brew a portfolio of great tasting beers, including Coors Light, Miller Lite, and Miller Genuine Draft, while maintaining a strong commitment to environmental sustainability, including the protection of the Great Miami Buried Valley Aquifer. Please join me in thanking our presenting sponsors. Now I would like to thank our event sponsor for tonight, Ohio Credit Union, and invite Derek Bailey, President of Ohio Credit Union, to the podium for some brief remarks.
Good evening. It's wonderful to be here as the president of Ohio Credit Union. I can remember back in 2017 when we first entered the Hamilton market, I was amazed and really surprised. I thought I knew what a community was. I didn't learn that until I came to Hamilton. The energy, the passion that everyone in Hamilton portrays, the collaboration from local businesses, from public officials, from community leaders is amazing. I am truly honored to be standing amongst in a room with a lot of great people, and I really thank you for everything that we do. I couldn't do it without my team. Leslie Baumgartner, wonderful CEO, spent a lot of time mentoring me, coaching me, a lot of life lessons, a lot of come to Jesus talks with me to help me get to where I'm at today. Mitch Vokey, excellent individual. As you all know, he's a really true leader in Hamilton. He's the heart of Hamilton. Jamie Bella, Sarah Powers, Amber Brown, Jared Dennison, Alina, and our newest executive over at Ohio, Chad Mays. I couldn't do it without them, and it's truly an honor. Thank you on behalf of Ohio Credit Union, and thank you for everything that you've done, and we look forward to supporting the community for many more years to come. Thank you.
So it is the Chamber's annual meeting, and we do have some business that we have to attend to as the next part of our event. And I'd like to introduce Nick Ziffel, shareholder with Retzel and Address, LPA, and our outgoing board chair.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight in this great event. Like Dan mentioned, I have, as the outgoing board chair, the responsibility to do the official business of tonight for our meeting. So first, we will conduct the election of the trustees. Those who I will mention tonight, when I mention your name, please stand, but can you please hold your applause till the end of each slate of trustees, and then we'll move on with the vote. But if you hear my name, you can still clap. It's okay. Pursuant to the bylaws of the Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce, the nominating committee has filed its report for the trustees, which is in your program at your table tonight. Trustees nominated for election to a 3-year term will be Leslie Baumgartner of Ohio Credit Union. Please stand, Leslie. Hi, Leslie. Paul Hoover of Kettering Health Hamilton. Brian Nicely of Pyramid Hill Sculpture Park and Museum. Quentin Moss of Modern Psychiatry and Wellness. Tano Williams of Tano Bistro. And yours truly. Thank you, appreciate that. So at this time, I will entertain a motion to elect this nominated slate of trustees to 3-year terms. Thanks, Joe. Second? All right, thanks, Liz. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right. Nobody voted no for me, so thank you very much. The nominating committee has also appointed members to 1-year terms on the Board of Trustees. So please join me in welcoming the following newly appointed members. Again, please stand when I call your name and hold your applause till the end of the slate of the nominees. Andy Durajei of Miami University Regionals, Mark Messerschmidt, an individual member and also as a representative of Molson Coors Beverage Company. Austin Plensler of ThyssenKrupp Bilstein of America. Tanya Terrell of Butler Tech. And Wally Zancan of US Bank. Stand up, Wally. Also, I'd like to announce our officers for the 2023 Hamilton Chamber Board of Trustees. First, he has agreed to serve as chair, Chris Motley of First Financial Bank. Chris, please stand up. Our first vice chair is Pete Abner of Kirsch CPA Group. Yeah, Pete. Our second vice chair is Liz Moore of Mercy Health Fairfield Hospital. Treasurer is Andy Schuster of Matandy. And past chair is myself. So again, one more thank you. You can clap, it's okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. And lastly, I'd like to ask the entire 2023 Board of Trustees to stand and be recognized tonight. Thank you all for your service to our chamber and to our community. Really appreciate it. I'd also like to take just a moment to thank our members and our board for the opportunity to serve as the board chair for this past year. With much thought and planning, our members have identified and employed the brightest to lead our chamber. With a front row view from this seat as board chair, I've watched Dan and his team and helped when they asked, sometimes when they didn't, but as they made 2022 a year of commendable success for the Greater Hamilton Chamber. And for this opportunity, I'm extremely grateful. And so thank you very much for this opportunity. Now I have the pleasure of introducing the Chamber's incoming board chair, Chris Motley, Senior Vice President of Commercial Banking with First Financial Bank. Chris, where you at? Come on up for your coronation. Thank you.
Gonna hang out, right?
Do I have to?
Yeah, you do. You do. I'm a little older than Nick, so I'm going to use my glasses. First of all, thank you, Nick. Thank you for your time, your commitment, and your leadership. Along with the chamber, I have the pleasure of serving on another board with Nick, and it's truly inspiring to see the value add that he brings to the table every time with his thoughtful commentary and his presence. We have a parting gift for Nick. But I will remind him that he's not going anywhere. He's just been elected for 3 more years. So. Thank you, Nick. Got a few more thank yous. We'd also like to thank the following outgoing members who are present with us tonight. So if you'd please stand. Karen Baker of Baker and Associates, CPAs. Joe Ballou, US Bank. Neil Cohen of Cohen Hamilton Recycling Center. Drew Guthridge, ThyssenKrupp Bilstein of America. Shaquila Matthews, Hype Hamilton. And Ryan Stitzel of ODW Logistics. Thank you for all you've done. We have a handful of others who could not be with us tonight, and that would be Jeff Boyle of the Jeff Boyle Group, Marnie Durham of Butler Tech, Josh Sellers of Auto Express Hamilton, and Lauren Sprague of the Butler Philharmonic. I'd also like a personal thank you. I want to thank Dan, the team, and the board for honoring me with the opportunity for this role. I would say, you know, the process starts about 3 to 4 years ago, and quite frankly, I didn't know then that I'd have to speak in front of about 450 people here at Spooky Nook, but it's a wonderful evening for sure. In 2023, the Chamber is celebrating its 113th year. The good news is it's still growing. Last year in 22, the Chamber added 89 new members. That's about a 14% growth rate. I like my numbers, and I think we're at a total of about 657 members strong today. The Chamber, as you know, is here for you. It wants to know what your goals are, it wants to know where you want to go, and it wants to know where you want to grow. You know, we've had a theme for some time about reaching out and meeting, you know, not just new members, but older members that you might not know. And, you know, whether that's from the 89 new ones or ones that have been around for a long time. Laura was kind to send me some information. Our latest member to join is Cincinnati Works. And our longest dated member, as it stands relative to the records that are kept, which goes back to November of 1961, is Webb Noonan Kid Funeral Home. I will say that there are a lot of members from that same period that are still members today, and a lot of you are representing the companies here tonight. So reach out for sure. The connectivity makes us all collectively stronger. So I thank you for your time, and with that, I will invite Dan back to lead the rest of the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everyone. The Chamber believes in collaborative partnerships. It's how we do what we do. Vision and collaboration are what has allowed this organization to thrive without interruption for the past 4 years. Hamilton in general moves forward when other communities struggle because of vision, collaboration, and grit. There is no better example of vision, collaboration, and grit than the excitement of being in this space tonight. I have to tell you that the partnership that we have had so far with the Spooky Nook team is amazing. But I also want to tell you some things behind the scenes that you may not know. The last time we were here for a large event was for the gala. And it took everything that our team and their team had to pull that off. We promised Sam, when I first met him in Pennsylvania, that if you come to Hamilton, when you do a grand opening, we're going to do a gala like the county has never seen. I think we accomplished that. What you don't know is, the day that we showed up of the gala to set our goodie bags in place and start setting up for the event, the front door was not in place yet, it was still laying on the street. So they started welding that in place. We walked inside, and there were guys painting with rollers on the walls, and we told everyone, don't lean against the wall, whatever you do, because the paint's still wet. It was only then that I said, you know, this is the one time I may have pushed too far. But you know, the Spooky Nook team pulled out all the stops. They had family members here. They pulled people from Pennsylvania. They did whatever it took to make it happen through vision, collaboration, and grit. My hat off to the team because they continue to impress us. Thank you. I love grit. It is an historic time to be in Hamilton, the city whose people can be described as buttoned down and tatted up. I love that phrase. Hamilton, to me, is differences of experience and opinion coming together with grit that embraces vision and achieves success through collaboration. Now I'm excited to introduce our keynote speaker, speaking of grit. Chef Mindy Livengrid Shea is an advocate for farm-to-table cooking. Growing up on a small working farm, Chef Mindy learned to be resourceful in finding ingredients that were fresh and available. She went off to college and started out as an EMT and then decided to go back to business school. She obtained a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration from Walden University and began working in the accounting department at Hospice of Dayton. She went on to finish her Master's of Science in Business Administration at Capella University and began working in the medical staff services at Kettering Medical Center. During this time, Chef Mindy's desire to be a farm-to-table chef never wavered. In 2019, Chef Mindy left the hospital and opened a small catering company in Westchester and started working as the brunch chef at Cozy's Cafe in Liberty Township. In early 2022, she went on to study under Gordon Ramsay, Christina Wilson, and Jason Santo in California as a contestant on Hell's Kitchen, season 21. Mindy plays second base and is a relief pitcher for a semi-professional softball team in Dayton and enjoys training for obstacle races and triathlons. She has a daughter, Peyton, who is a senior in high school. She is married to Mike, and they reside in Liberty Township. Chef Mindy's favorite thing to cook is Asian fusion, and it is a great honor that I introduce to you Chef Mindy Livingood Shea.
Ooh, I'm nervous. First, Hooday! We're gonna beat those Chiefs on Sunday, y'all. I am so honored to be here tonight. Among the elite, business owners, folks who launched careers, won awards, changed the world, changed Hamilton for the better. Thank you to the Chamber for allowing me to tell my story. It's a good one, y'all. I should start with I'm only mildly funny, slightly charming. I do have good hair and wear red like a rock star, but I'm not really good at landing jokes, so if I'm trying to tell you one, there's a good chance I am, so try to laugh. I tried to land with my husband this week, and he said, oh, I didn't know I was supposed to laugh. Okay, babe. I'm going to give a quick appreciation to my people. My parents and my husband are here. Thank you guys for coming and supporting me. It's such an honor to have the people you love potentially watch you trip up some stairs and screw up a speech and land zero jokes. But in all seriousness, I wouldn't be here today without them, without the events that I plan to talk to you about tonight, and without my husband and children who shaped my story. I do have a trigger warning for tonight. I will suck the air right out of the room with this story. There's some tough things in my past that are very difficult to hear. Stay with me. I'm standing here today. So the surprise ending is I survived long enough to see the world shut down, the Bo Jackson curse lifted, Sam Hubbard run for his life, and meet Gordon Ramsay and stand here today to tell you about it. So who am I? Why would the Chamber choose me? Well, let's go back to the beginning. I've always been a pretty good writer. Just to tell you where my mindset was as a senior in 1998 at Carlisle High School, I had to write an instruction manual on how to do something. Some kids chose how to make an ice cream sundae. One kid taught the class how to shoot a compound bow, which to his credit was okay, but it wasn't necessarily right. But me, I taught my class and my 12th grade English teacher how to rob the First National Bank of Carlisle. Yes, it involves arson, train schedules, breaking and entering, fleeing, and offshore accounts. At a mere 17 years old, I wrote a better version of Ocean's 11. So that takes me to my mom, my true hero. She always thought we had to do chores when I was a kid. And while in my teenage angst, I may have acted like I hated it, but I didn't. She taught me how to make lasagna and one-pot meals and how to save a buck on groceries. And so while I fought doing those chores, I did them for years. And honestly, I believe I created DoorDash. I did, I promise you. And I missed the boat on that one, but we'll get to that a little bit later. But with her help, I was able to create a business just a little while ago, and where I would deliver fresh cooked meals to your house for your family so you didn't have to go out to eat. I had to put that in a old dusty business plan that same senior year. I got a D+ on that business plan. I followed the rubric perfectly, but my teacher said it would never land. Listen, she wasn't wrong, but we'll get to that. So in 1990, when the music was original, New Kids on the Block were kings, Emmett Smith and Troy Aikman rolled the cowboys, I wore tie-dye and baggy jeans and puka shell necklaces. It was customary for women whose parents were blue-collar to go into areas of education or in the medical field. I submitted. I thought I wanted to be a nurse. I knew in my soul that my true heart was in business ownership and cooking. which at the time was underdeveloped and amateur, but like all things, needed cultivating and practice. I know there are nurses here tonight, and you all are heroes. I am not one of those heroes. Big, giant, unappreciated heroes, and again. So I took some pre-nursing classes, and I took my very first job as a nurse aide at Middletown Regional. I didn't last very long. Let me just tell you about my assignment my last day. My first patient was dying of an unknown contagious virus, and I would like you to think back to the 90s. A 5-year-old who was abandoned by her parents in the ER, a nonverbal man with dementia, a 23-year-old man who swallowed a goldfish at a party and got stuck, a middle-aged lady with a double knee replacement, and then several other non-complicated people for a whopping total of 26 patients to one very new nurse aide. You know what did me in? Removing a catheter. He threw up on me. I threw up on him. I walked to the nurse manager's office and said, I can't do this. And you know what she said to me? You're weak. What trash leaves in the middle of a shift? That was a fine moment for me as I walked out of there. I made $7.04 an hour. So I continued on my general education classes, and I found that I could still stay in medicine and be a coder. Steady income, zero excitement. I graduated, became certified, worked at Dayton Children's. Fun fact, coding is not easy. Children's is definitely not easy. And so I began working on my bachelor's degree, thinking there had to be something more. All the while, I had gotten married, and I had gained a significant amount of weight. Times got really hard. I left Children's and started working at Hospice of Dayton. Sidebar, big props to the mission of hospice. Good people. During that time, I had my now 17-year-old Peyton, the light of my life and the true hero of this story. I drove a vehicle that kept breaking down. My husband at the time got laid off from his construction gig, and so I picked up working as a drug mart cashier on the weekends, and I also coached preschool gymnastics for a total of 96 hours a week. I would take Peyton to school, go to work at hospice, pick up Peyton from school, take Peyton home, change, and then go coach. On the weekends, I worked open to close at Drug Mart for the extra money. We decided to start going to church, so I took down the 12 hours on Sunday and decided just to go on 8 hours, and honestly, I needed the break. Here's where we meet the antagonist of my story. We make some friends at church, and we start hanging out with them. I don't necessarily because I'm working so much, but my husband and daughter are hanging out with them a lot. I was working so much, honestly, I didn't care. I was just glad to keep waking up every day. Peyton was going to daycare. I was working 85 to 90 hours a week, and so I really didn't have time to focus on friendships. In October of 2010, husband gets a job, yay. So I could go down to two jobs, which was great, solid celebration. I also had banked enough money to put Peyton in some extracurriculars. In walks karate for a hot second. The couple that had been hanging out with us from church also put their son in the same karate class. It was great because they were friends, they would go in together. That lasted about a hot second because then Hannah Montana came out and she wanted to be a rock star, so we had to leave karate. Around this time, husband's grandmother starts passing away. We're gathered at the bedside as she becomes unresponsive. The woman, who's part of the couple that we're hanging out with at the time, shows up in support. That's so nice. I was so happy to see a friendly face there. I get pregnant with my second child in February of 2022. I find out because I'm, at the time, trying to get really healthy. I was roughly 309 pounds, and I did my best to try to eat right and start exercising, and so I really enjoyed what I considered running 5Ks. I don't qualify that as running, but I thought that's what I was doing. I took a test, sure enough, positive. I get home and tell the husband. He turns around on a heel and leaves the house for several hours. The story moves to Peyton's birthday. She turned 7 years old. After the party is over, I get home and my family does an intervention. Your husband's cheating on you. I saw it. I knew it was coming. I did what I had to do and turn him loose. Thankfully, my parents were around to help me get through this very difficult pregnancy, and on my birthday in 2012, Allison Grace came to the world 2 weeks early. A whopping 7.5 pounds, this kid would have been a 10-pounder for sure 2 more weeks later. At any rate, after the husband was gone and I had essentially dropped 300 pounds of unnecessary testosterone, my financials came together. I started graduate school, pulled out that old dusty business plan, and redid it for my entrepreneur class for my MBA. I received 0 child support. I made 3 times more money than him, so it made sense. I was still working a couple jobs, side hustling as a caterer. I had these 2 beautiful blonde girls, no one gaslighting me. I was thriving. And then the antagonist from the story returns. She created a Pinterest board called Livin' Bad. Now, if you didn't catch that, that's a play on my last name, which is Livin' Good. Anyway, she used the platform to bully me. This was pretty primitive at the time because bullying has really become a problem now, not in 2012. She used it with memes and quotes, things like I was too fat, I self-tanned too much, I looked like an Oompa Loompa, which was my favorite because today I self-tanned and now I feel like I look like an Oompa Loompa. You name it, everything from how horrible of a person I was to if it takes you 10 minutes to put your makeup on, you're too ugly to wear it anyways. Y'all, this took 2 weeks. 2 weeks to look like this, so what does that say? As things do, it gets worse. My entire world crashed down on September 8th, 2013. My life was changed forever. At 5:05 a.m., I woke up in a full panic attack. I couldn't breathe, I couldn't sleep, my chest hurt, and my left arm hurt like I was having a heart attack. 7:03, 2 hours later, everything went quiet. Peace fell around me. I no longer felt panicked. I sat down in a pool of my own sweat and took a breath for the first time in 2 hours. Then the call came in. The voice on the other end of the phone said, "Allie is dead. She's in an ambulance on the way to Atrium. You need to go." And the line went dead. At this moment, I've blacked out. I screamed, dropped the phone. I guess I grabbed clothes. I flew out of the house and went to Atrium. I ran screaming into the ER, and there I found my 9-month, 25-day-old baby girl lifeless on a gurney. They tried to bring her back. Dr. Kim, and I'll never forget his face or name, came out and said, "Go in. Babies are resilient. Sometimes they come back. Go talk to her." I witnessed things no mother should ever see. The defibrillator, the epinephrine, the compressions. And then in my deepest depths, I said, "Please stop. Please stop." I don't remember much else about that day. I looked up and realized, where's Peyton? Where's Peyton? And so the ER staff looked at me in tears. "Who's Peyton?" "She's my other daughter." At that moment, I didn't know. She could have been injured, kidnapped, worse. Go find my daughter. And then my mind has since snapped shut. I can't tell you the rest of the events that day because our bodies truly protect us from the things that could harm us later. I only have bits and pieces left in my brain from that time period. I buried Allison Grace on September 13th, 2013. I cried every day for 2 years. Just recently, I stopped crying every day. Grief doesn't go in. It doesn't end. Your mind begins to accept the finality. There's no time limit. Going forward, the bullying progressed to threats. There were times I would be jogging in my neighborhood and have to jump out of the way of being hit by girlfriend's car. And frankly, it became a challenge to go on. I moved out of the house that I took Allie home in. I couldn't go upstairs to Peyton's room. I didn't have the ability to face the nursery. And honestly, Peyton couldn't either. We had to leave. So we moved to a house that I could afford at the time, and it was owned by a slumlord. I didn't know. I had a toxic friend group. They gossiped, they hurt other people, they made fun of children, they drank too much, they cheated on their spouses, and they made it a point to try to be as mean as possible to protect themselves and their insecurities. Honestly, I stayed in the group not because I liked them, but for the belonging, because I was lonely. The toxic grew to a point where I was then pushed out. I was left out of stuff, talked about, took advantage of because I was the kindest of the group. On Memorial Day, 2016. Peyton was at her dad's for the holiday, and I wrote letters to each of my parents, to the ex-husband's girlfriend, and finally, to my child. The letters were suicide notes, individually written to each one, explaining why I did this. The house Peyton and I lived in had a rodent problem. Our trash cans were stolen weekly. My car was vandalized over and over again. There were massive roof leaks. The heat never worked. And no matter how often I asked the landlord to help, he promised it would be fixed, and it never was. I was in shambles, and I chose to stay in that house because a roof was better than living in my car with a 10-year-old. I'll spare you the information of the letters. What I will tell you, as I sat in my bathtub at 2 p.m. on Memorial Day in 2016 and ran that blade over my wrist, as the blood began to seep out of my skin, something spiritual happened to me. All I could think of is, how could you lost a child, you sick freak. How could you do this to your parents? Why would you want to cause them the same pain you have as a bereaved parent? And what about that little girl, that 10-year-old with curly hair and blue eyes, the one who desperately wants to do hair and makeup, who loves you so fiercely and gets so mad when you don't answer her calls? I quickly jumped out of the bathtub. I put an insane amount of pressure on my wrist, and I started praying. I wrapped my wrist so tightly it was turning red. I cried out to God, "Why did you take my child?" I was so angry. Your son died for my sins. You know what this feels like. Why would you take my baby? I cried for 3 days. I called my job and I quit. It was time to make some changes, and the first thing I needed to do was seek therapy. There are programs for people like me. I'm still in one today. In 2018, I met Mike, my current husband. Peyton and I lived in that shack. My car was breaking down at every turn, and I weighed 329 pounds. For whatever reason, this guy saw that underneath the brokenness, there was somebody there with a big heart. Now, I'm not always the best wife. I can be downright jerk sometimes, but he still keeps me around for whatever reason. I survived a near suicide attempt. I had every reason to give up. I had and still have this massive hole in my chest that'll never close from the loss of my child. But what I can tell you that I've learned over the last 43 years of my life is that it's possible to go on. I finished that master's degree. I took an administrative role in Kettering, and it was the best job I'd ever had. I was the medical staff coordinator, and I started my health journey. And then walks 2020, the smug bastard, with its pandemic and its debates and its ridiculous politics. I won't give you any indication of where I stand politically, as it's not productive, but what I will tell you is they are all crazy, and you all know it. But I digress. During the beginning stages of the pandemic, KMC came to me and said that you are essential, but we have to cut your hours. But you need to be essentially here all the time, but we have to cut your hours. That wasn't gonna work for me. It was time for me to move on. I decided to get out that old dusty business plan and take advantage of the shutdown. On the advice of the girl who does my eyelashes, I went live on Facebook. I told the Book of Faces that I wanted to start this business. I wanted to create meals that I would deliver to you contactlessly, where you would open your front door, and in some cases, not just one meal, but multiple meals for your family for the week. I ran this small business out of my small home kitchen, where I destroyed my dishwasher and my oven. I left the safety of my job at Kettering, where I got to wear pretty clothes and look nice, to take a massive risk during a time when you couldn't get jobs anywhere. And I started making food for my friends on the Facebook. Then it was time for everybody to return to public. And you know what happens to somebody who takes food to their house? They don't want that anymore. They want to go out again. I used this opportunity for growth. A guy started at a restaurant and was mentored by a chef. I got myself some little bit of education. And then, like a sign from God, an email came. Are you interested in Hell's Kitchen? I actually laughed. Okay, let's do it. I made a 30-second video saying nothing. And on December 23rd, 6 months worth of auditions later, I get a call. You're on the show and you leave January 4th. I am a moderate-looking, middle-aged mom who lives in Cincinnati with no experience. I'm gonna be the first one to leave for sure. Who cares? Let's do it. So I fly out to California and I go on a 10-day quarantine because at that time, January, February, California was very much still closed. And while writing this speech, I counted the amount of COVID tests I took when I was there. 147. I took 147 COVID tests in 32 days. That amounted to exactly 13 nosebleeds. Now, let's talk about the man himself, Gordon Ramsay. Question I always get is he as mean in person as he is on TV? The short answer is no. He is humble, funny, kind. He puts his family first. He wears Ray-Bans. He drives a Bentley, and he doesn't actually eat food. He tastes it. That's how I lost all my weight, too, just so you know. You got to push away from the table. I wish there was a cure. There's not. And to elaborate, he does have the best hair. It literally looks like that all the time. 6 o'clock in the morning, perfect hair. Like, I pay so much. Why? How? Moving on. I would drop everything and go again. I met Gene Simmons the very first night. And listen, what you didn't see, there was a lot edited. I couldn't get his rice cooked fast enough. Gordon Ramsay comes, listen, I don't have an English accent, but I'm gonna try. He comes over and says, you need to go apologize to Gene for messing up his rice. So I walk over to the table and I'm like, I'm sorry I couldn't get your rice done, Mr. Simmons. This is what I get. It's fine, that guy's kind of crazy. So, if you watch the show, I'm going to give you a little bit of background on a couple of the people. Billy, 100% real. He's funny, crazy, wild, and a mess, but he's passionate. Alex is poised, talented, and easy to talk to. He's also a singer. Zeus, in his shark story, being bit by a shark on his head, threw some red flags for me, and I'm pretty sure that guy was a paid actor, but I'll never know for sure. I also signed my life away on an NDA, so I can't tell you who wins, but you should still be watching. It's really good. Also, I didn't get to try any of the food. Not one time did I try a beef Wellington. I would like to sadly say that during the time I was there, I ate one avocado. I had 2 bottles of water a day, and I ate 2 pickles in 32 days. That was an excellent diet plan. All right, so I lost everything, but I've also had everything. I was blessed with incredible parents. I've had mentors. I've lost 165 pounds. I landed a corporate executive chef job. Thank you very much. It's hard work. I've landed a corporate executive chef job. I've cooked arguably for the greatest chef of our time. He liked my soup. He said, the soup is delicious. He sent me out on the best elimination in the 21 years of Hell's Kitchen history. But here's what I want you to take from this story. Being bullied is what caused me to be sad, broken, and close to suicide. But if you think about the bullying itself, what is it exactly? The person who's bullying you is mad that you're happy. It could be loosely be termed as a form of flattery. They are so jealous that they aren't you that they become enraged with your success. It took me a while to figure it out, but I think I live for it now. I lost this a significant amount of weight, aged like fine wine, and cooked like a master. And my husband is a very lucky man. The old saying goes, you never really know what someone's going through rings true. I tattooed over my suicide scar. It's a wave and an anchor now. I'm the only one, my tattoo artist, and now all 500 of you know exactly what those mean. Does your business say, cover your tattoos, take out your piercings, and don't color your hair wild? I'm gonna ask you to really dive deep into that. Because what you don't know is that I'm currently doing 2 people's job at my full-time corporate chef job. We don't have a maintenance director, so I've stepped into that duty as well. I work 60 hours a week salaried, and I have 9 tattoos. Sometimes I have pink hair, and I have 7 piercings. I'm not gonna tell you where they are. I want you to figure that out. But I'm a salaried, tattooed individual that works 60 hours a week. But if I have this chef tattoo on my forearm and you say that I can't work for you, you could be losing the best employee that you've ever had based on a strict a strict judgment just because of what you see on my arm. I'm dedicated, loyal, smart, and willing to do just about anything for my career, but mostly to make my boss proud. Don't mistake tattoos and piercings for unprofessionalism. Think about the situation that may have drove the person to having those. You could be passing up the greatest employee of your career just because they have a chef knife on the right forearm. Growth never happens when you say, it's the way we've always done things. Success happens when you say, no matter how many times I failed, I got back up. I'm always looking for new opportunities, as should you. New employees, new successful people to work around. So get up, try again, accept people for who they are, open your mind and be brave. End up incredible. Thank you.
Wow. I told you she had grit. So, thank you very much, Mindy. When we first met her in our office, we reached out, and actually, thanks to the Journal News is how we found her. And when we reached out, we came in to just have a conversation. And when she left, Nancy and I were like, oh my God, she's got to be our speaker. So, thank you. Okay, next, moving on. First, I'd like to introduce past recipients of the awards that are in attendance. First, our introduction of Lifetime Achievement Award is Jerry Hammond. Would you please stand? And then I would like to introduce previous Citizens of the Year, and please hold your applause until the end, but would you please stand as I call your name? Previous Citizens of the Year are Jackie Parrish, Jerry Hammond, Bob Weigel, Mike Dingledine, Pastor Shaquila Matthews, Kathy Klink, and Jack and Karen Whalen. And now it's time to recognize this year's deserving recipient. And here to do that is Michael Pittman, Senior Associate Reporter of the Journal News, and Jill Cohen.
That was weird. I got my jacket caught on the stairs. First, I want to do a selfie. All right. Thank you. All right. I can't recall the first time I met Neil Cohen, but I do know he was larger than life when I met him. I mean, even if he doesn't believe it. Do you believe it, Neil? No? You are. You are. But it was a few weeks ago that I interviewed him for the story in the Journal News about his honor that he's getting, earning tonight. I learned we're a lot alike. We're almost like twins, Neil. I mean, you're a few years older, well, more than a few years older, but I mean, we both look good in beards. We can pull off the gray hair. And on page 2 of my remarks here. Hold on here, sorry. And we are both volunteers. I volunteered for a handful of organizations over the years. Neil's volunteered for, 10 times that, but who's counting really? We're also fathers who would do just about anything for their children. Just today, literally this morning, at 6:30 this morning, my daughter's heater went out in her car, so I told her, drive mine. Take mine. I'll go in the cold and suffer, but it was worth it because we do anything for our kids. Example number 2. We might get Chef Mindy might appreciate this little deal I have with my daughter, my youngest daughter. She is a dancer. If anybody's talked to me for any length of time, they know this. But I made a horrible deal to try to encourage her to get an aerial. It's basically a flippity flip on the side with no hands. That is a technical term. So if she gets it by Tuesday, the end of the month, not only will I have to dye my hair, I must paint my nails and pierce my ears. I got to encourage her somehow, so I made a horrible deal. I hope she doesn't get it by Tuesday. I hope she gets it Wednesday, when I only have to do like 2 of those things. But I don't like my chances because my wife's against me. Now, I shared all this to say this. Neil, I think that your colleagues, friends, and family will agree with me that you're not just the Hamilton Citizen of the Year, because honestly, you can get that every year. You are also a friend of the year, a neighbor of the year, a colleague of the year, a rock star of the year. But you are also something else, and Jill will share what that is.
Hi, everybody. Had to take the opportunity, so many things I could say, but how do you introduce the person you look up to the most? Dad, your open arms, heart, and mind make each of us a better human. Your fun-loving, down-for-anything temperament lights up the people around you. Your leadership and dedication to this community inspires everyone you meet. No one is ever alone when they have you in their corner. When I'm at my best, I am my father's daughter. I am so proud to know you.
I thought Neil Cohen was an ideal candidate for this year's Citizen of the Year, specifically because of the work he did with the YWCA's new facility, but also just his body of work that he's done over the years to make Hamilton a better place.
It's more than Citizen of the Year, really. It's the culmination of everything he's done. He was connected to every important project or program. He sat on every board. He was the guy.
You know, Neil is such a caring individual. He cares about people. He cares about the organizations that he supports, and he cares about our community at large.
Neil Cohen single-handedly made it possible for the domestic violence shelter to be built. And what I mean by that is that he was out making asks. We had public funding that was able to build the top 2 floors of this organization, but this first floor, which is the domestic violence shelter, would not have been possible without his efforts.
Building this building is such a prideful event for me and for the rest of the board particularly. We worked very hard to make this happen.
The fact that it was as successful as it was meant that we now have doubled the capacity for domestic violence, housing, as well as permanent supportive housing in our community.
And it should be clear that the amount of money that he raised for the domestic violence shelter had to be $1.6 million in less than 6 months. He raised 1.8 in 5.
Neil's been involved in community leadership for a number of years in a number of different roles. It seems like wherever there's a need in the community, Neil wants to be involved.
First and foremost, I think his passion is this community. How do we drive it forward, and how can he participate in that? So, you know, I've been so impressed with just how he has involved himself and really supported each of the organizations that he's associated with.
When I look at the number of organizations that he's been involved in and the amount of outcomes that are a result of his direct involvement, it's astonishing. It's over 31 organizations that I know of.
He genuinely cares about what happens here, and he does everything within his power to make our city great.
He's a somewhat quiet, unassuming, strong leader in the community.
He is warm and caring. He's an amazing father. He's a great husband.
You know, I would say number 1, caring, and number 2, just a true leader.
He's an awesome friend. He's a great leader, mentor.
Neil Cohen is first a friend to whomever he meets.
Teddy bear, amazing human being, kind, generous.
I hope that he sees this as a sincere appreciation from people in the community for a whole body of really good work that he's done over a number of years.
Your legacy is your giving of time to transform the organizations you touch. That is what will outlive you, your children, your grandchildren, and your great-grandchildren. Some of us are lucky if we can get even close to doing that in one lifetime. You're going to have generations that will remember what you've done. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Holy crap. I think most everybody in the room knows me, some more intimately than others. But this is quite a night, as you can imagine what I'm feeling. But mostly I'm feeling really humble and thankful. And it's really sweet. It's nice. It's really nice. So I've only got about 75 pages of speech. So hang in there with me. I promise it'll only take 75 minutes. Thank you for this great and humbling honor. Don't know if anyone other than a few here are old enough to remember, and you know who you are, I'm looking at that table down there, that this is the second time I've been honored with this award. The last time was Jack Whalen and me for leading a school levy campaign in 1986, and that was before the Common Era. It was only 36 years ago, so I'm thinking that I expect to win this honor again when I'm 105, and I'll do my best to make sure that I deserve it when I'm 105. For the last 47 years, I've had the love of my life and my best friend by my side, supporting, encouraging, and inspiring me to believe in myself and the cause that I believe in that matters most. Honey, you're an amazing partner. I love you, and I'm not standing here without you. My motivation to do good things emanates from trying to create a better life and a world for my kids. Brian and Mag, Jill and Craig, Ava and Ansel, my grandkids are here tonight. I hope to have been a model that helps you recognize when you can make a difference and the courage to act in support of your beliefs. I'm so proud to be your dad and papa, and I love you with all my heart. My brother Ken and my sister Kathy and I all fell from the same Wilbur and Mary Jean apple tree. Even though we do our deeds quite differently, we all affect our communities in significant ways. We have accepted our folks' challenge to make a difference, and the results are quiet but apparent. You, Janet and Bob, and your families are always supportive, and I so love and appreciate you as well. My Cohen Recycling family, which gave me 47 years of work-life opportunity, made it possible for me to find a passionate pathway to learn and grow in the greater Hamilton community. Because they maintained a steady influence for the success of Cohen Recycling, my work family allowed me the time to put myself out there to reap many personal rewards and milestones, which have led me to this podium. And a little off script, those things that I have done, the list that you saw up there, they were for me as much as they were for the community. It meant so much to me to create the relationships that I've created, and you'll hear a little more about that in the speech. And so many of you are here in the room. Working together to make those things happen are really what it was about. It wasn't really about me. It was about the people we serve. To the nominators, Wendy, Sonia, Brett, and John, I will always remember and cherish your kind words and our collaborations on so many projects. We spent a lot of time together challenging each other to advance our game while creating a landscape that can be a framework for life better lived by scores of Hamiltonians for all time. Thank you for this recognition and for doing that great service for all the people that benefit. I cannot finish without mentioning my dear friend and mentor, Julie Keniston, who unfortunately couldn't be here, who introduced and taught me about the dark and silent world of domestic violence and child abuse, as well as all of you, my close friends, either here tonight or not. Your character, integrity, and influence have inspired me to become the person I have strived to be. You've made it very hard to keep up. So I'm sorry if this is sounding like an Academy Award speech, but please don't start the music. I'm not done yet. In the world around us, there are epidemics that we must fight every day. There are the big ones like racism and drug abuse, and the hidden ones like domestic violence and child abuse. There are plenty more, and we would surely run out of time naming them all. All of them are utterly intolerable and seemingly unending. My passion for the work of the YWCA of Hamilton, eliminating racism, empowering women, promoting peace, justice, freedom, and dignity, as well as keeping victims of domestic violence safe, that's what keeps me up at night. I will not stop working in this arena until all victims are safe and secure, and the world sees these fundamental tenets as a livable doctrine. Unfortunately, it appears that I will not rest. I believe the measure of a community is based on how we attack these issues. Wellness should be measured by how our neighbors gain access to health care, access to education, access to social services. That access must not be denied, and its delivery can make all the difference. The incremental steps for improvement can often go unrecognized. In Hamilton, the city that I love, progress, whether great or small, must be a constant, and my role, even though ever-changing, will never be ignored by me. Robert Reich, a noted economist and former Secretary of Labor, wrote, you don't have to be famous to be an agent of positive change. Change happens when endless numbers of individuals give their energies and risk their livelihoods to make the world more humane. Small actions and victories lead to bigger ones, and the improbable becomes possible. My family knows that I often say, and I really often say this, we can't change what has already happened, and we can't finish until we start. As I challenge myself, I also challenge all of you to not focus on what has already happened, learn from it, and start anew every day as we work together to fashion a future in which all Hamiltonians will flourish. Thank you so much, all my friends here, for being here, supporting me, and supporting the Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce, and making this night extraordinarily special. Okay, you can start the music. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil, and congratulations again. Neil, I don't know if I can keep your speech, which I will bring to you at a later time. I got to meet Neil and Honey for the first time about 26 years ago Nikki's and my wedding, and it's been very much enjoyed getting to know them over that period of time. It's wonderful to see what you do for our community. So I've got a few thank yous, and then I'll get out of your way, and we will adjourn. Our event sponsor, Telhio Credit Union, thank you. Our presenting sponsors, Molson Coors Beverage Company, Mercy Health Fairfield Hospital, which I think on our list is about probably the 4th oldest member of the chamber at this point. Our sponsors, Butler Tech, LCMB National Bank, Spooky Nook Sports Champion Mill, and U.S. Bank. And our production sponsor, Tech Services, and our supporting sponsor, Sarah Carruthers, our state representative. A couple of other thanks go to the Journal News, TV Hamilton, Bloomley, and Inspiration Studios. So we know there's an after party. Looking around, I think we're all still here. There might be a few who've already left, but that starts right after I'm done holding you up. It's Municipal Brew Works, 1 floor down. Please join us if you can. And so with that, we look forward to a great 2023. We are adjourned, and thank you.